All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And we got Andrew Yang's Q3 numbers.
Well, most candidates.
Yeah, most candidates, actually. A lot of people have been asking us recently about the Q3 reports. And just as they say in Atlas Shrugged, that money is a barometer of a civilization, you can kind of understand a lot about the enthusiasm and the momentum of a campaign. It's not everything, but it's a decent gauge of a lot of things. Da money. So, Cody, tell us what's going on with da money.
Okay, so I guess I want to bury the lead here. As far as what's going on with Andrew Yang, actually a friend of the Yang gang, I guess, Crystal Ball. She gives a pretty good infographic from their show Rising. Check them out on the Hill if you haven't seen it. Pretty good. So $10 million total, $6.3 million cash on hand, 99% of it was from small donors, and the average donation was $30.18. Roughly the cost of a math hat was the average donation, which I do think is probably, I mean, dude, think about it. You're running a national campaign, you could probably sell millions of dollars of hats that are $30. 35, I'll have to check. I think I paid $35 for mine, so, a little less, but if someone donates $1, which a lot of people do, it brings the averages down. Not in a negative way. I'm just saying that's how averages work. So I think roughly the cost of a hat factoring in $1 donations is basically the average. And so that's for Andrew Yang. Now, what does that all mean? Because really only kind of matters in relation to other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
New York Times has a pretty good graphic breaking down who raised what last quarter and what they raised this quarter. And you can notice, what does it mean for Andrew Yang? It means he raised roughly, 4 times what he raised the first 3 times, I guess? 3.5 times? I'm really bad at math. A lot more than he raised in quarter 2. I mean, the $2.8 million he raised in quarter 2, he basically raised that the last week, I believe. He raised $1 million within a week of announcing the Freedom Dividend giveaway, or pilot program, however you want to frame it. And then he also raised at least $2 million over the last few days with that progress bar on his website. So, that's 4 of the 10 million coming in kind of short bursts. So you definitely see with the Yang campaign factoring in that, where over all of quarter 3, he raised roughly 3 to 4 of that 10 million over the course of 14 days, where he had a big push. So there still seems to be probably some lulls. The lulls aren't as bad though, because 2.8 to 10 in 1 quarter, that is a big difference. While we're here, let's highlight some people Yang outraised. Cory Booker and Michael Bennett. Now, no offense to Michael Bennett, but I do think it's kind of disrespectful to Andrew Yang to say, wow, he raised more money than Michael Bennett. It's well, he's higher than him in the polls and more people know about him and care about him. Why wouldn't he raise more money than Michael Bennett? No offense, I'm just saying. However, more than Cory Booker's good, what's even crazier, he's basically 1.6. That's a good viral day of fundraising for Andrew Yang, away from Kamala Harris over the course of an entire quarter. Yeah. And you also notice the big thing about Kamala, I would say once you start making less money as the election comes on per quarter, that's when you might want to start going we're working backwards here. Kamala Harris making 0.2 million less. Being stagnant isn't good, less is all. But how about this? There's, again, framing's what matters here. Pete Buttigieg raised $19.1 million in quarter 3, which is roughly $5 million less than he raised in quarter 2. And it's so he's making less money than he used to in these quarters. So really, depending on how you want to look at it, no candidate had a larger growth than Andrew Yang. However, pending the release, you'll notice 2 big names left off this list. We have not seen a disclosure from Elizabeth Warren or the Joe Biden campaign. I'm expecting them both to be raising the most. They're the front runners. Part of the reason is I don't think Elizabeth Warren or Joe Biden raised little enough to realistically raise 3 times more in a quarter. I think Andrew Yang is one of the few candidates in that position where he legitimately could go out there and quadruple what he raised. I mean, I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to raise $100 million in quarter 4. You know what I mean? At a certain point, it's kind of hard to keep exponentially improving. But Andrew Yang, can he raise $25 million in quarter 4? Be Bernie Sanders in quarter 3? I don't know, especially with just one last thing I want to get to before we get to your input in this card. Run to the news. For those of you who haven't heard, this email went out to reporters not too long ago. And I believe Bernie getting ready for the gun control forum or the gun violence forum they're having. This is from the Sanders campaign statement. Senator Bernie Sanders' advisor Jeff Weaver on Wednesday issued the following statement. During a campaign event yesterday evening, Senator Sanders experienced some chest discomfort following medical evaluation and testing. He was found to have a blockage in one artery and 2 stents were successfully inserted. Sanders is conversing and in good spirits. He'll be resting up over the next few days, canceling his events and appearances until further notice. And we will give you appropriate updates. One update I've heard on that, I think it was actually Crystal Ball who reported this. Speaking with cardiologists, the procedure that Sanders went through was not really life-threatening as far as the procedure itself. And there's people candidly saying that, they had patients on the golf course the same day. So we obviously hope for the best for Bernie Sanders. I'm just saying, even though it wasn't that bad, the optics for the optics for future fundraising of you had to have heart surgery on the campaign trail. It's just, as a donor, you might be like, well, dude, the guy's having like stuff inserted in his arteries, right?
Okay, look, I'll just tell you this right now. I love Chevys. I'm not an ageist when it comes to Chevys. I loved my 77 Chevy 4x4. I loved my 2001 Chevy Tahoe. You know what I'm saying? I like my 06 black quad cab Silverado. All right. I'm not an ageist at all. You can give me a 1962 split window Corvette. I'll love it. You could give me a 2020 Corvette. I'll love it. Okay. But I also know there's certain things that happen in the lifetime of a vehicle before it breaks down and it can no longer serve you. At 120,000 miles, everybody knows your fuel pump's gone. You're just going to have to do that $800, bite the bullet, and replace your fuel pump. Even though that car may last to 400,000 miles, you're going to go through 4 fuel pumps because they only go 100,000 miles, more or less each, right? So these are the signs, stints, kind of cognitive confusion and not hearing things on Joe Biden and blood vessels rupturing in the middle of tense situations. And yes, I think I'm amazed by many, I would even almost not say elderly, but people in their 70s and 80s that I see running triathlons, that I see doing athletic achievements in my hometown that are in honestly better shape than I am. And I'm not here to tell you that 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds cannot serve the immense mental stress that made Barack Obama go from looking like a healthy middle-aged man to looking like that healthy middle-aged man's 20-year-older brother by the end of his presidency. There is so much pressure in the presidency that it puts you under physically that stress. You can't look at George W. Bush and not see what it did to him after 8 years. You can't look at Barack Obama and see how it aged him 20 years in just those 8 years. Okay?
I just pulled up this from Time magazine. How presidents age in office. Yeah, man. Yikes, dude. He was able to enter and look pretty unscathed, but he looks like, you could just see, he just looks like
the weight of world has been on your shoulders for 4 years.
He looks like he was a very stressed person for a decade straight.
Exactly. Exactly. And so it's like, I'm not here to say that 70-year-olds or 80-year-olds can't serve in the presidency, but I am here to say that I doubt that 70-year-old can, and that 80-year-old can.
I mean, exactly. Like I said, there's
just being breaking down, man.
But there's different. Not every 75 is created equal, right? Like you said. Some people are 70. Like, for example, Donald Trump is roughly the same age of Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, I believe. And he looks like he has more energy than they do. Take it for what you mean. I'm just saying, like, not everyone who's the same age is built the same way. But still, I want to get back into the fundraising. And again, like Bernie Sanders, I don't think he'll drop out as a result. I just do think if we're talking fundraising again, future fundraising, he had to go over, surgery to insert something in his arteries because he was feeling chest pains. It might just have people saying, well, if I'm giving you a lot of money, it might only take one thought in the back of my head of like, is he healthy enough? That might make me just give less. Maybe not give that. I'll give some, but less. Right?
People aren't even
that's looking forward. Well, no, but that's to get into. But again, before we can give a full analysis, a full breakdown on all Q3 fundraising, we have to see Warren, we have to see Biden. But for now, looking at Andrew Yang raised way more money than he did in Q2. That's good. Didn't raise a lot of Q2, but he raised a lot. And then I actually just found and pulled up, I believe it was Zach Grauman, the campaign manager, I believe, for the Yang campaign, who just kind of wrote a long thing on Twitter. I'll just kind of breeze through it, thanking the Yang Gang for everything and the money they've been able to raise. Personally, I joined this campaign a year and a half ago. I quit my job on Wall Street, found someone else to lead my nonprofit and put it all online for Andrew Yang and a vision to save the country. Sounds like a dumb millennial special snowflake statement, but that was literally the goal. Yeah, interesting. You don't get to hear a lot from Zach editorialized, so okay, it's interesting. I know he felt that way. It was tough sledding for a while. We would get laughed at pretty often. We run for president of what we heard often. That's nice. You've got no chance. Heard that a lot too. And we could blame them. We had no money, no experience, no name recognition, no email list, and the New York Times called us a longer than long shot. So anyway, they go through. He mentions the people that were backplaying him. What I want to get to is here. So watching hundreds of thousands of people wear math hats to get excited about this was vision, literally bringing tears to my eyes. I was speechless at the LA rally the other night. The Yang Gang is the most beautiful group of people I've ever met in part of my life. I just wanted the reason why I thought that was interesting, he brought that up when he was talking about what the campaigns meant, what the campaign's been, the stuff they've been through, all they've missed, is it really did. And I just think it's interesting seeing the campaign manager for Andrew Yang now kind of mention this. That rally last night did feel like a big moment for the Yang campaign as far as like, one, California loves Andrew Yang. The main reason is, and this is one thing I always try to keeping things in perspective. If you were to just break down where's Andrew Yang most popular on the internet, where is the majority of people who are like extremely online internet culture people? West Coast, East Coast, LA is the hub of it. So yeah, when he comes to LA, I mean, like I was talking in the video we did, the amount of like, if you just combine the amount of social media followers from people who showed up to attend that event, it would be in like the tens of millions. It was insane. And because a lot of people with very high profile things from LA were like, oh, I'm about Andrew Yang too. I'm Yang Gang. And they showed up. I believe it was the guy from Tipsy Bartender, some other big podcasters. My point being is that it does seem like Andrew Yang's, it legitimately feels like the Andrew Yang campaign has raised 3 times the money in the last quarter than the first quarter. Just being around the campaign, I do not believe quarter 2 would quarter 2 have included April? I'm looking like an idiot here. Either way, when we factor in that April rally, just the atmosphere, the crowd, we're going to do a funny video where we asked people in the April rally if they thought Andrew Yang could win the primary, and we asked people at the latest rally if they thought Andrew Yang. But it does feel like in that period, the campaign has exploded. I've been
now
saying
they
got to
get more organized.
Yeah.
Now they got to get more organized, and the days of being scrappy and having, because like, I mean, this may not be popular with the Yang Gang that listens, but as cool and awesome as that rally was, it was pretty dang disorganized.
But that's
okay. No, we're going to talk about some specifics.
But hold on,
here.
can I want to get to specifics? I'll bring up a specific. You want to hear one? Fascinating specific. You want to hear?
Okay, fine.
So, using this quarter 2 money, the Yang campaign grew their staff from 70 to 97.
Good.
There's 97 people staffed for a national campaign, dude. Yeah, it is insane to think.
Wasn't that the size of Donald Trump's? Didn't when they interviewed him and walked through his headquarters, there was like bare walls with a couple of posters, and he said, "Yeah, I got less than 100 people."
Okay, but get this. You got to read the full quote.
Okay.
They hired 70 new staff members over the last 3 months. Three months ago, there was 27 staff members.
Okay, wow.
So
they need to be hiring.
What I'm saying is when you hire 25 people a month, when you basically double the size of your employment every single month, yeah, dude, it's rough. They got the money coming in, but it's not always easy to there isn't necessarily everybody you need to fill every role on the job market looking to be employed for your campaign in 3 months when there's 20 people running for president. So that is a tough spot he's in where he can get the money, he can run the ads, but sometimes, dude, there's so many people running for president, and there's only so many.
But there's more Zach Grummans out there, all right? And if they're killing it with these college students, you know what I'm saying? And if 10.4% of college students are voting for Andrew Yang at this point, like they need to be getting into the seniors that got their poli-sci or their broadcast journalism or whatever. Because, like, for example, we went to the Yang campaign, right? They never responded to the email for press passes. We're one of the number one channels.
Okay, but hold
on. No, let me get to this because this matters.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, it does matter.
We're not legitimate media.
No, yes, we are legitimate media. Okay?
No, legitimate media is a term for like broadcast.
No, you're trying to say FCC broadcasting. Guess what? We are. We're on FM 98.1, bro. So anyway, they invite our friend Paget on stage, but then they forget to give her press pass too. So she can't go up and interview the questions she had for you. No, but hold on. This is important, bro. And the reason why it's important is because I show up and I'm setting up my camera. We're actual kind of enthusiasts that actually want to follow them and show up early, not just the regular NBC guys that show up an hour before it starts.
Hold on, man. I got to get the smallest violin out so I can play along to this.
This isn't sad person. No, you're projecting an emotion onto this that isn't there.
You're giving out. You're just giving out and having a moment.
I'm not giving out. I'm saying I show up and there's not even enough XLR. There's not enough actual microphone box spots for all of us. There was a box of 4 there. And so I just look at this and I think, oh my gosh, there was 8 or 9 cameramen I saw from other media venues that like were not collecting sound that day or are going to go back to their producers and say, I couldn't get any sound, so we can't roll this footage. And that's a hit on the ability of Andrew Yang to get more.
That is not atypical. Go to any event that's massive, and guess what? Any event that's massive, I can tell you one thing.
Yeah, they have 20 XLR spots, not 4.
No, if you get a peek behind the curtain, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this actually happened. It's such a disaster. So that's
okay. In terms of
I've never been to a live event in my life. I've never been to a live event in my life that, you know what pros do? They're able to put up enough of a facade where it looks like they're in control. Any live event I've ever been to, it's an absolute nightmare disaster. From the most expensive produced ones to movie sets to local high school football games. Any live event people produce is an absolute nightmare disaster.
I've produced hundreds of these events. I understand that oftentimes it is controlled chaos, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it went well because, the rapper was awesome, the DJ was awesome,
MC
the guy
James,
with the bobblehead was
DJ Manic, shout out.
So I'm not saying it wasn't a success, but I'm saying when you're on your home turf and you've got, the sparklers going off for the wrong guy. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to make sure that there's a flagship show, just like brands have their one.
Hold on, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, by the way. Just want to remind you.
You know what? Fine, Cody, you win. You win.
We're talking quarter three. We're talking quarter three fundraising.
Yeah, we are. And I'm saying with the Q3, I'd like to see him start hiring some people that know how to put a show on that goes to 11.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
I don't know how many other rallies had a rapper warm up. MC Jen shout out. They had a DJ who DJ'd the whole thing.
Katy Perry was at Hillary Clinton's.
Okay, there we go. So he doesn't have the Katy Perry's in the row. But I'm just saying, man. Like I think you're just getting lost in the weeds on something that realistically, okay, whatever. But I don't know. Know what he needs to spend the money on is not having cooler rallies in Los Angeles. He needs to spend the money on not getting hammered in polls in Iowa and New Hampshire because currently that's what keeps happening. So.
Actually, those Iowans have become these little walking legends. Like, for example, I don't know if you noticed in all of our chats, but both on Discord, on Twitch, and in YouTube, while we were arguing over whether it was 4,000, 5,000, 2,000, 10,000, and somebody's pipe dream of 20,000, a consistent statistic that the Yang Gang kept mentioning in the chats was, yeah, I think there was 5,000, but you know what? There was 6 Iowans there. I met 3 Iowans. Like these Iowans walk around now in presidential politics like straight up Lord Fauntleroy. You know what I'm saying? Like they're the Queen Latifahs of presidential politics. If Eminem's the rap god, Iowans are the vote gods now. You know what I'm saying? Who are just like, I'm an Iowa vote. You know what I'm saying? It's actually pretty hilarious. Yeah, I know, but I don't know. For some reason, the New Hampshire people don't carry the same weight as Iowans.
Well, here we go. Here's the latest polls from New Hampshire, right? Let's look how he does in New Hampshire.
Okay,
Andrew Yang in New Hampshire. Again, you want to have better light shows at his rallies? How about this? Why don't you get above 2% in these polls? He had that 1.5 in Boston Herald, which was pretty good for New Hampshire. But, he doesn't poll as great in New Hampshire as he does nationally. Why don't we get him polling as good in New Hampshire? I think Iowa in particular, I'm going to pull Iowa up. Iowa in particular, man, is a state he is really struggling with. And to be frank, I don't understand why.
Yeah, that is interesting because there's
You'll notice he's behind Tulsi Gabbard in Iowa. In the latest polling aggregates. He's behind Tulsi, and no disrespect to Tulsi, he's just nationally, he's well above her. I mean, he's behind Cory Booker. He's tied with Tom Steyer.
That's not what we're talking about.
No, we are, because you know what I want to see a funding going? I want to see a funding going to
You just said the same thing I did.
No, but the thing is, you gave out and moaned and complained for 10 minutes first. I just got to my point. That I would like to see that money better spent. I could give out about it if you want, but like I said, I want to see the money better spent, and not better spent not by the campaign. I mean, dude, don't focus on cooler rallies. That rally was insane. That was fine. Focus on getting polling up. Focus on beating Tom Steyer in Iowa. Beat Tom Steyer in Iowa with the money is what I say.
It's not cooler rallies. The rally was plenty cool. I mean, the cool factor was off the charts, all right? But I'm saying have somebody that understands media and press enough as your press secretary, enough to get all the press passes out that need to be out, and to make sure there's enough XLR boxes for all the people that want to show up.
The coverage they had of that event was insane. There was so much media there covering it. They got what they needed. They didn't need any more. They didn't need us, quite frankly. They didn't need us.
I look at it and I think if you're going to get the most out of that piece of fruit and you're a juicer.
No, you're thinking about me. You're thinking about numero uno right now. Why didn't I get more? Dude, does not
No, we got more than enough, bro. We haven't been able to edit all of our interviews yet. I'm not at all worried about us. I'm saying from an independent, because I'm an independent commentator, from an independent participant's just observations. My heart broke when I walked up there and I was plugging in, and I was one of the early people. I'm like, holy crap, there's only 4 XLRs out here. And there was a guy next to me who was setting up his camera, and he goes to plug in and he didn't see it there. And I said, oh crap, I don't think they have any, bro. And he says, their loss. He packs up his camera, puts it back in his bag, and gets on his phone. It's like, I know, who knows? Maybe that guy was just the local college or the KU TV affiliate or whatever, But dude, that small local stations got 5,000 people listening. And if California is one of your strongholds, you need to emphasize your strengths. So if something as simple as not having planned to have a bigger XLR box there because you're not familiar with how large these events can get, your inexperience just cost you those 5,000 people that were listening on KUTV.
Okay. I mean, again, I think that my criticism of that is a very minor complaint that probably ultimately isn't as important as the other stuff. So I just think it's like,
okay.
Whatever.
I mean, that's fair. Maybe I'm overemphasizing it because I come from a world of radio.
No, because you feel
but
slighted personally is why you're overemphasizing.
Why do you make everything so petty? I don't feel slighted personally. I thought it was rad.
You literally moaned about your access and other people's press access for the last 15
I'm saying
minutes.
You're
just going off.
No, I don't like it. I don't like my time getting wasted. Yes, and I just want to know
Time
I
was
definitely
wasted.
don't appreciate. Yeah. But in terms of the quality of the event, I thought it was great. I thought it was rad. It was better than I thought it was going to be.
Okay, I think you're overreacting big time. I think it's really
How is this an overreaction?
Because it really, realistically, dude, like I said, that's what happens when you go to things like this.
You're embarrassing me on my own show. Actually, no, you're not.
Because by that logic, you've embarrassed yourself. Because all I've done
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Now, all I'm saying, dude, is Andrew Yang raised way more money than he did this quarter than last quarter. That's good. We're still waiting on Warren, still waiting on Biden to get everything
here's what
out.
I want to know from you. We
What?
both agree that we want to see him spending his money in better ways, and you want to see him beating Tom Steyer in Iowa. Yeah, that breaks my heart that Tom Steyer is anywhere on the map. So what do you think he needs to be doing better with his cash?
I mean, honestly, I have a good question. Why do you think Tom Steyer is at 2.3% in Iowa?
Because he's buying up Facebook votes at wasn't it like $7 he's spending to get every $1.
If they're for sale
donation?
and Yang has $6 million cash on hand, maybe he should start buying some of those votes. That's all I'm saying. If they're just for sale and Tom Steyer can buy his way in, why can't Yang buy his way in? What doesn't make any sense? It's crazy. Tom Steyer can buy 2.3%, but Yang can't. I think that's where the money needs to go. Now, that being said, Tom Steyer has the billionaire war chest where he could just throw $100 million in and say, whatever, I'll write it off. So it's different for him than Yang, but I think that's what he has to do. He has to figure out how Tom Steyer's buying his votes and try to use some of that $6 million to buy something for himself. That's what I think.
Okay.
Because, I mean, polling good, it costs the nation's good. You got to pull better in Iowa. You got to pull better in New Hampshire. You got to pull better in Nevada to win. If California with the fifth vote, and I think he can win California. If by the time he gets to California, he's lost 4 states. It's tough. So I think
I hear you. It's rough.
Win the early or
like groupthink.
Maybe not even win, but compete in those early states at least. Hey, maybe lose 23-36 to Warren. Right? You could bring that and say, hey, they love her in New Hampshire. I got hammered. Whatever. You could see we have momentum. If you get a 5% in a primary in New Hampshire, for example, and Warren wins by 18 points, people are going to be like, oh, wow, like Yang's like, you know what I mean? Basically, you don't want to get obliterated in these early states, and that's where I think the money should go. The money should go to Facebook ads, web ads, TV ads, radio ads, whatever ads are most effective in these regions to not get hammered. But is it
ads, or I think you should keep pumping? I think they really need to start. What I would do, honestly, was I would get super creative with the Yang Gang in these areas. And I would show up to the Yang Gang and I'd say, you crazy mofos that don't mind making bobbleheads. Because let me tell you, I think people have already started to tune out even on Facebook ads. I think what was considered still avant-garde 5 years ago.
Iowans, though. Remember, we're not talking people in LA that are cool and on the internet. Talking about no offense to Iowans.
Is that your regional bigotry?
I'm just saying the way technology stuff works in this country, it starts on the coast and works in. So I'm saying is Facebook might just still be more used in Iowa than perhaps Los Angeles and New York for a certain type of audience.
I loved going to college in Utah because
and Facebook skews older.
Yeah, I loved going to college in Utah because all of the things that were cooler the year before when I was a senior in high school were just like hitting it. Like my wardrobe that was avant-garde, 18 months ago was just showing up on the shelves in Salt Lake City. So it was like, I got to relive the previous year again. It was pretty awesome without having to spend the money.
That's what I mean, though. Perhaps, like I said, Andrew Yang coming from New York and then tech bubble stuff. Yeah. It seems to be, because again, New Hampshire, despite being
We sound so snotty right now. All of our fans in the Midwest are hating us.
I'm just saying there's different areas. Like, I believe Andrew himself is from more suburban New York, but New Hampshire, while being on the the East Coast. And it's not necessarily like a major metropolitan area, right? It's more kind of suburban, rural area. And perhaps that is where he might be struggling in states that are larger suburban and rural than largely urban.
Yeah, and
that could be what we're seeing. And that could be why states like Iowa stand out as a state that is more rural and urban and rural and suburban than it is urban. Meanwhile, denser urban areas, like I said, Los Angeles, dude, people come out like crazy. Rallies are huge. There's people
you know what I
rapping
would
to
do?
start off. Like, it's a whole different vibe in LA than you would get in a more rural area. Because I think he is making headway on the lines of communication that are really popular in urban centers. I think that's where he's struggling. Communication types that are more popular, because you could say people don't. No one uses Facebook. No one watches the cable news anymore. No one listens to the radio anymore. But realistically, the further you get away from large metropolitan hubs, the more suburban and then the more rural you get, the increase in use of those what we would consider older types of technologies exist. I mean, there's a reason why radio stations still exist. They still print some newspapers and some magazines, and they still broadcast news for local affiliates. That is still literally how the majority of people get stuff. So that isn't where Andrew Yang's killing it yet. If he can get to the point where he's really, really doing well there, and they can use his $6 million cash on hand to leverage that, that could be really cool.
I don't know. I just don't want it. I don't want it to see him dump into I don't want to see the untraditional, unorthodox candidate all of a sudden just dump all of his money into traditional and orthodox television ads and radio ads. Hear me out. Hold on. I want to see him go into New Hampshire and Iowa and all these places and do what he did, giving out the freedom dividend. By him saying we're going to give out to 10 families the freedom dividend, he got 500,000 emails. 500,000 emails.
$1 million.
Yeah. I mean, are you kidding me? What an unorthodox thing to say my campaign's going to give its money away. And as a marketing tool, if you're just to look at dollar for dollar per email, dollar for $1 million dollar donation, that was the single most efficient marketing ploy. And I don't think it was a ploy. I think it was genuine, wanting to actually prove that UBI works. Okay. But even if he were just this total, slick and greasy marketing dude that gave it away just to get more back, that's freaking genius because of its unorthodoxy. So let's keep being unorthodox. Let's go to the Yang Gang and say, hey, what crazy ideas in New Hampshire do you have that works? Would making 10 bobbleheads and sit with a sign on the street corner going like this, is that going to get me more views than a $10,000 radio buy? If so, fine. Yang Gang in New Hampshire, here's your $1,000. Make your bobbleheads. I would like to see him just completely Yang Ganging it, proving he's the most grassroots. That's going to get the activists from the other campaigns. It's going to create this groundswell. And if there's anybody that surfs groundswells better than any other candidate out there, it's Andrew Yang. Come on, Biden doesn't surf groundswells. Sanders doesn't surf groundswells. Elizabeth Warren is still trying to figure out how Instagram works to be hip. She's not surfing groundswells. Andrew Yang can surf groundswells.
Well, hold on. Which one of the 5 people leading Andrew Yang in the polls is so wacky and cool they decided they're going to forego traditional advertising, and that's paying off for them so big they're leading him in the polls? I'm saying. There's a reason why car tires have been black forever. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes that's just the thing we do because it works and it's good. And I think that's what we see with, like I said, don't burn it on full page ads that don't have any return. But there's still radio ads that give returns, TV ads that give returns, Facebook ads that get returns. Spend it wisely in these markets. Like
I argued that about billboards yesterday.
What I'm saying is, these billboards, these things make sense because people only spend money on them because they work on some level. So I think he needs to start getting I think he needs to get more conventional with some of that money, because guess what? A lot of the stuff you brought up is unconventional.
But it establishes legitimacy.
But no, what are the things that are unconventional you brought up? What they all have in common?
They still cost money.
But very little, much less than a $5 million ad buy.
But they take more time of volunteers, and I think he's got strength in volunteers right now.
But
the Yang Gang's enthusiastic.
My point being, you already have the volunteers to do this fun stuff for you. Why not take the money you have and put it into things you're not doing?
Okay.
I don't know. I think not doing the thing you're not doing still because whatever, I don't want to, is a silly way to be in 5th place in an election, is all I'm saying. It's silly to be in 5th place because you're like, I'm too new for radio ads. Well, guess what, buddy? Mr. Pete isn't, and he's beating you in the polls. So maybe you want to catch up to where he is. Huh? Like that's my perspective. Like, maybe he would benefit more.
Is it Mayor Pete or Mr. Buttigieg?
Any of them.
Mr. Pete. We'll just call him Mr. Pete.
For whatever reason, I call Elizabeth Warren Mrs. Warren like 95% of the time. I'm assuming she's married. I don't even know if she's married. I think call her Miss Warren sometimes. Like, I don't know. I just kind of pick names for candidates,
All right.
By the way, my boy John Delaney isn't even on this list anymore. God, John. Come on, man. Drop out. No offense, John. I just want to see the best for you. They don't even have him on the top thing anymore. He's behind Steyer and totally. So I want to see the best for John Delaney. He's ripped. He's worth hundreds of millions. Just enjoy your life, man.
Shout out John Delaney.
Shout out John Delaney.
Anyway, if you haven't liked this video yet, please like. If you've made it this far, you're a freaking super fan. And like, I don't know, send us a message in the comments and we'll try and see if we can't do something for you. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a long one. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Make sure you hang out with us on Twitch on Tuesdays and Thursdays for our live stream. Hopefully by this Thursday, we're going to get this phone call in line working finally. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you in the next video.